All right, today our viewer has asked, what do you think about eating cassava as a staple on a plant-based diet and possible toxins?
Well, this starchy root, known as cassava in some places, but in Malaysia and Indonesia, it's known as manioc. And the starch that's extracted from it is known classically out here in the West as tapioca. And it's used as a thickening agent and a sweetening agent. When you can see all that amazing starch that's in the root is taken out and processed. And so it's very helpful nutritionally for people who are eating diets that are low in nutrient value. If you're living out in the forest, they're a root that gives you so much calories as well as some vitamins and minerals is very, very valuable. And so cassava has been used around the world. It grows in tropical areas, but now with modern commerce, you can get it pretty much at any store. And as I said, it's mostly starch, which is basically stored sugars. And so it's a high carbohydrate food. And in general, it has a place occasionally in a healthy diet. Now, if you are obese and you're trying to lose weight, probably really concentrated starch like cassava is probably doesn't belong in your diet very frequently. If you are someone with type 2 or type 1, but type 2 diabetes and you're struggling to keep your blood sugar down, cassava with all its starch and sugar can certainly raise your blood sugar. So in obesity and diabetes, probably not a staple food for you. But if you're at good weight and normal, good health, to have cassava show up in your stew or on a dinner plate as a starchy vegetable from time to time, it's very beneficial. Well, it has a legitimate place, we'll say that. Now, this viewer asking the question was astute enough to ask about toxicity, and indeed, as a natural bug repellent, the cassava plant has learned how to make a pretty toxic molecule called cyanide. And there can be significant amounts of cyanide in especially the roots and the leaves of the cassava plant. And people eat the leaves as well. They are a dark leafy green. But if you eat whole lots of cassava root and cassava leaf that's not been properly processed, you're going to be eating lots of cyanide, and that can make you very, very ill. So those folks who've been eating cassava for centuries in their native lands, they learned how to process the cassava root, and the cyanide, or at least the molecules that give rise to the cyanide, the organic molecules, can be broken down by enzymes, both in the cassava plant. We have cyanide detoxifying enzymes in our liver and in our tissues as well, but you really don't want to be ingesting a lot. You really want the natural enzymes in the plant to break those down for you. So in the folks living in the natural tropic lives, they will take the cassava plant, they will cut it up into pieces. They often scrape the outer peel off the root. They will chop it up into pieces and they will boil it for 15, 20 minutes, a half an hour. Then they take the pieces of the boiled manioc, the boiled cassava, pound it into a paste, spread it out on a rock in the sun, let it dry, and this dried powdered manioc that's been boiled. And they often will take the boiled chunks before they pound it into a paste. They'll put it into a bag and let it just set for about 3 days, so the enzymes get a chance to work on the alkaloids that make the cyanide and break them down. So the process is to peel the cassava root, cut them up, boil it, let them sit for a couple of days, and then pound it into a paste, dry it, and then you can go ahead and use it as a cooking ingredient. There's some significant processing. The cassava or the tapioca that you buy at the natural food store has already been processed in this way. If you see natural manioc or natural cassava root in the store, know that you don't just bake it in the oven like a baked potato and eat it. You may wind up in trouble there. So for us in the West here, it's a novelty food. And if it's been properly processed, it has a legitimate place as a starchy vegetable, but you do have to be cautious when you're dealing with the raw cassava root or leaf that's not been properly processed. So novelty food, but you can certainly make it all through your life without ever eating cassava. It's another starchy vegetable that here in the West we use sweet potatoes and whole grains to occupy that space in our diet there. But if you get a chance to consume some properly processed cassava, I've had it. I found it quite tasty. So hopefully you will too. Hi everyone, Dr. Michael Klaper here, announcing our new format for our Q&A with Dr. K. Annie Hagen will be asking me one question that's been sent in by our viewers. So if you want to see if your question is getting answered, do join us for our Q&A with Dr. K right here. Hope to see you then.